네, 오늘 만나볼 히어로는요, 한국인이 아니라 미국인입니다. 보니까 굉장히 책을 열심히 보고 있는데요. 통일에 관한 어떤 이야기를 들려줄지 기대해보면서 지금 바로 만나러 가보겠습니다. Hello, Jason.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Just studying some.
Hello, Jason.
Hi.
Yeah, good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You are the second person who has appeared on this program and first foreign guest. Can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. 안녕하십니까? 제 이름은 제이슨 말렛입니다. 미국에서 사우스캐롤라이나 주에서 왔습니다. 저는 지금 수원국제대학원에서 학생입니다. 그리고 수원대학교에서 영어하고 독일어 가르칩니다.
Have you ever met people who left North Korea?
Sure. When I worked at Daily and K, several of the reporters were North Korean defectors. It was a good opportunity actually to learn more about the lives of regular North Koreans. Every week, the interns that I was, one of which I was, we had to take classes in which each reporter would teach us some aspect of North Korean life. And so since some of the reporters were from North Korea, they got to teach us about their daily lives or whatever the citizens had to do. I've also been to Hankyore Middle and High School, which is a middle and a high school for North Korean defectors. And I got to give this very fun kind of 2-hour class, and most of it consisted of just the students asking me lots of questions about America, American life, why did I come to South Korea, these kind of things. And I witnessed no hostility from the students at all. They were very excited to meet me, and I could tell that the sort of anti-American attitudes that the government forces on their people are not permanent. They don't last forever.
What did you learn from Daily NK?
Oh, sure. Yes, I wanted to, from the moment that I started my graduate studies, I wanted to focus on North Korea. I was hoping that that would be the center of my focus. So I specifically chose Daily and K so I could learn more about North Korea. And I learned a lot that applied to my major because one actual thing was I was able to improve my Korean language skills a lot because most of the reporters did not speak English. And so I had to communicate directly in Korean with them the whole time, which would later help me with my thesis as a lot of the sources were just in Korean. I also learned a lot of North Korean vocabulary, which even a lot of South Koreans don't know. And that helped out a lot, especially when I was writing my thesis. And I probably learned more about North Korean politics and society and economics in those 3 months than I've learned in the rest of my entire life about North Korea. Just from translating articles every day, from speaking with all the reporters, and especially from President Park, who taught me so much, and I'm always grateful for that.
Yeah, and I heard that many Americans cannot reach the information about North Korean and North Korean governments. So can you give some kind of advice to them?
Oh, sure, yes, because in Western media, most stories about North Korea are about one of two things. They're either about the nuclear issue, or they're about some crazy thing that Kim Jong-un did this week, or his legs being broken, or his hairdo, these kind of things. But there's so much that people should know about the regular lives of the people, or even just the country as a whole, how the government works there. And so I think websites like Daily NK or NK News, these other North Korean news websites that are based in South Korea that have English language pages, people should look at these far more often than just turning to CNN or Fox News or BBC, who only take the biggest stories.
I want to discuss about your thesis because you choose your theme of thesis on North Korea. Can you briefly explain about your thesis?
Sure. I wanted to look at the North Korean economy, and I wanted to try to find out what were the kind of the biggest problems that the economy had, and not only that, but try to develop a roadmap for development that the North Korean economy could use, not to benefit just the North Korean government and leadership, but to benefit the regular North Korean citizens. So what I did was I broke it up into 6 sections, and in the first part of the paper, I kind of focus on the problems of the economy, and then in most of the paper, though, the last part, I focus on the roadmap solution. The 3 biggest problems I found were that they focus too much on heavy industry without having any kind of light industry base or having even food security. They can't produce enough food to feed themselves. They also focus too much on the philosophy of juche in the economic sphere. I think that for the political sphere, this is fine, but economically, it doesn't work in the globalized economy. And along with juche, they also have this kind of xenophobic attitude. Xenophobia here meaning fear of foreigners, fear of foreign countries. And this means that they cannot work well with other countries. They tend to try to cheat other countries out of money or take out loans and never pay them back. And the final problem is that they have what one former unification minister called a limited economic development strategy. And this strategy means that they want to develop to a point where they can sustain themselves but still not be controlled by the outside world at all. Yeah. So this is a goal that is not sustainable in the long run, I believe.
When we focus on economy, there are some problems, and there are many arguments on the cost of unification.
Sure.
And many Koreans actually feel that it will be a burden for South Korean, right?
Sure.
So what do you think about that?
I think that this absolutely would be a burden if they were to unify right now. It would be a huge burden. I think the idea of unification as a jackpot is true to an extent. I think that it would be a jackpot for the big chaebols, but not for the North Korean people, not for the South Korean people, just for these big businesses. For 2 main reasons: that the chaebols would be able to use the North Korean residents as a cheap labor pool, and instead of inviting foreign workers from Southeast Asia and China in, they could just use North Korean workers with low wages. And the second reason is that the North Koreans then would become just a new market for the chaebols. So it wouldn't really work as a jackpot, I think, for the people of either side of the peninsula. So what I think is that the real gain in the strategy that the South Korean government has so far is just to give these chaebols money. Now, as for costs, how to pay for these costs, yes, it's often cited that North Korea has vast amounts of natural resources and they have cheap labor, and all of this is true. But what I see as the scenario unfolding is that the South Koreans move in, they allow the chaebols to have contracts to work at these mines. If you can even get the Chinese workers out, the Chinese companies out of the mines, then the government only receives a little revenue from these contracts from the chaebols. Probably they would allow the chaebols to employ the North Korean workers at low wages, meaning that the new government, the unified government, would not get much tax revenue from income tax from these workers either. And it would keep them also not able to earn much money, meaning that they could not consume enough to sustain a new economy, I believe. So what is the best way to move forward is, instead of unifying right now and just allowing chaebols to move in, is to find a way to make the North Korean government improved and developed so that when they come to the table, to the negotiating table, they come as an equal partner, and the South Koreans will not have to pay massive amounts of money to develop the North Korean economy. If you look at when the 2 Germanys unified, the purchasing power parity at the time was 3-1 in favor of West Germany. And right now it's around 15 or 20-1 in favor of South Korea with North Korea. And almost 25 years later, the West Germans, if I'm correct in my information, West Germans are still paying a unification tax to help support the East Germans. And if the 2 Koreas are unified now, South Koreans will have to pay some kind of similar tax for 100 years at least.
What is the best way to unify the two countries' economy?
Sure. Initially, the best way is to work through North Korea's special economic zones. Now, we already see this through Kaesong, which I think has been a great success despite a lot of its critics. However, North Korea has over 20 other special economic zones, many of them focused on export processing. And I think this is a great opportunity for South Korean companies small and medium-sized companies, not just the big chaebols, to directly make an impact on the lives of everyday North Koreans and improve their lives. It will also get these North Korean residents used to working with South Korean companies and will help the two economies find ways to work together so that when political unification does come, that there's not incompatible market systems between the two countries. I think this is the best way to begin. After that, I'm not so sure, but I think that that's the best beginning.
Lastly, do you have anything to say to South Korean?
Sure. I would like to tell South Koreans that the North Korean people are the ones you should try to help. And there are a lot of arguments on both sides, the left and the right, of whether or not we should help the North Koreans because you'd be helping the military or their nuclear program. And these are all legitimate arguments, I believe. But it is the people who suffer the most when they don't get helped, and it's the people who will reap the most benefit when we do help. So in everything you do, try to help the people, not the North Korean government. 북한 정부 아니라 북한 주민 도와주시기 바랍니다.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for your good opinion about North Korea and everything. So thank you for coming here, and I hope everything goes well with you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. 어떡해. How was my pronunciation during shooting?
Oh, it's fine.
Yeah,
Great.
thank
No
you.
problem.
네, 한국인으로서 정말 빨리 통일이 왔으면 좋겠습니다.
The world is also waiting for North and South Korean unification.
We hope for the unification of Korea.